Can't we just spam the spammers to death? Hi everyone, Leo Notenboom here for AskLeo.com. It is tempting, I gotta admit. I recently received a rather lengthy question about spam and a particular service that claimed to turn the tables on spammers, either by spamming them back or somehow using the content of their messages in an attempt to harm them in some way, or at least annoy the heck out of them. Now, as much as spam angers us and annoys us, besides ultimately being ineffective, vigilante justice is not the answer. One common idea, the approach that many people suggest, is to take incoming spam and reply to it with thousands and thousands of emails. There are a ton of problems with this idea. Here are just a few. First, spammers don't pay attention to replies. They just don't. Besides, the from address, in other words, the address that you would reply to, is often spoofed, and any reply is actually going to go to some random, innocent bystander. It could even be yours. The from address is often completely fake, which means that if you reply to it, you'll get thousands and thousands of bounce messages in response to your thousands and thousands of attempted spam messages. And if the spam does notice that you're replying, like most of the time, they're likely to respond by sending you more spam. Why? Because they noticed that this is a real email address attended to by a real person. Regardless of what does or does not happen, what has happened is you will have become a spammer. The fact is spam, whether it comes from a spammer or from you or from a service. You are causing thousands of unsolicited email messages to be sent, which makes you a spammer. You run the risk of losing your email accounts or your email provider being placed on blacklists and your legitimate email not being able to make it out. You even risk running afoul of the law, since what you are doing is, as I understand it, quite illegal. So, it's illegal, it's ineffective, and the only person negatively impacted by your actions is very likely to be only you. Don't do it. Another approach, or the other approach that's often suggested, is to take the links that are in the spam email and somehow spam them. Well, to begin with, it's a link, not an email address, so you're not going to be able to send email to a link. But even if you did try to do something with that link, understand that the way phishing attempts and other attempts are set up, that link may also be completely unrelated to the spammer. It may get redirected several different times. It may be on some poor sod's compromised server. I've had it happen to mine. The only time my server has ever been hacked was years ago. My Linux server was hacked to send spam. That's what they do. What they try to do these days is they actually will hack a legitimate site. For example, they'd love to hack AskLeo.com. In a folder on that hacked site, they might place their own malicious code. Perhaps some simple HTML, perhaps some JavaScript, perhaps a redirect, perhaps something else entirely. The spam emails then contain a link to that page on the hacked site. So, if it were on AskLeo.com, for example, it might be something very random, like AskLeo.com/WP content, uploads, something or other. Ideally, for the spammer, something that I, as the site owner, would never even notice, or at least not notice for a long time. Since it's a link going to a legitimate site, the email is not flagged by spam filters. When you click on that link, the malicious code that has been placed there by the hacker does something to redirect you to some other site that has the real content, or perhaps even some intermediary site to further obscure the true destination. People often think about DDoS, a distributed denial of service attack. Well, guess what? If mine were the hacked site, you would be DDoSing me, not the spammer. They've put a lot of things in place to make sure that it's very difficult for you to maliciously try and get to them. If you're just someone who's about to fall for spam, of course, you're not going to check any of these things. So, don't. Don't reply to spam. Don't try to spam spammers. Don't try to act on the links in the spam. All of it is at best ineffective and at worst possibly quite illegal. When you get spam, mark it as spam and move on with your life. That is, to this day, still the best and most effective, or perhaps least ineffective, approach to dealing with spam. For updates, for comments, for links related to this topic and more, visit askleo.com/13843. I'm Leo Notenboom, and this is AskLeo.com. Thanks for watching.